What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the STR Investing Podcast. I am your co-host, Mark Lumpkin, and I'm bringing you another Monday market data report. This market has been requested quite a few times. We have not done it in the past, and so we are bringing you the new format. I'm going to give you amenity stack, what your competition has, total revenue on averages based upon the bedroom count, and we're going to bring you as much information as we can about this market in about the next 5 to 10 minutes. And so, guys, let's get after it. Make sure you tune in this week on Friday for a special guest speaker. We've got a really cool one coming in to talk about some fun stuff STR related. And so without further ado, this week's Monday market data report is going to go over Asheville, North Carolina. Asheville is a super hot market, trending market. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people talk about the design and the amenities you need in order to win. And let's figure out what the data tells us. And so Asheville is going to see somewhere around 14 million visitors a year on average. About 9 million of them are day trippers. They're just coming in for a couple of days. And then tourism makes up about 20% of Buncombe County's GDP. So tourism is a huge factor to the greater Asheville area. And there's quite a few people that come in. A lot of them coming in just for a couple of days, but there are plenty of overnight visitors as well. How does the STR market compare? What's the total number of listings? And let's break that down. So you've got a total of 1,800 or so active Airbnb listings as earlier in this year. The peak was about 2,500, down 25% since then. That is, we're going to talk about the reason for that. And obviously, Asheville has gone through some acts of God, and that Hurricane Helene really did a huge amount of damage to the total market for tourism, for property values. Just, it's been crazy for those people. Many properties are still destroyed. There's a lot of people still recovering. And so supply is actually down a little over 8% over the last year over year. And then occupancy is up almost similar to that. Occupancy is up about 6%. Supply is down about 7%, and revenue total as of April of 2026 is up about 15% year over year. What happened? Hurricane came in, destroyed hundreds, if not thousands of houses, displaced a lot of people. It was pretty terrible. We had family living there that went without power for a couple of weeks. And so because of that, you had a bunch of cancellations. I think the numbers are that 85,000 STR rooms canceled within 3 weeks in October of 2024, 7 times the cancellation rate, and about 1,500 STR units exited in that market. About 40% of pre-storm STR inventory was converted to long-term housing or owner-occupied. Obviously, that's kind of bounced back. More properties have come back on the market. More new short-term rentals have launched. But the total tourism, the whole market had a huge impact in Asheville because of the hurricane. And so that definitely put a blimp on this roadmap, but for all intensive reasons and for the long-term viability of this market, it's been on the up and up for many years. And every single year for the last 10 years has seen almost a double-digit increase in tourism and in the growth of that market. And so I could see why people think Asheville is super hot, because it is. It can be a great market to invest in. But guys, I'm a huge fan of Asheville. And so let's get into what the numbers have to say about this market. Let's kick it off just with revenue based upon the bedroom count. And so when we start out with the small little properties, 1 bedrooms on average do about $45,000 a year in revenue, with a range being pretty wide, between $31,000 and $92,000. That's a pretty large range for 1 bedrooms. It's obviously going to be based upon location, design, amenities, and then the view is going to be really, really important in a mountain market like Asheville. If you create a unique, special short-term rental that is just a couple's cabin, you can perform really, really well. When we jump to a 2-bedroom, this is interesting. There's basically no jump in revenue on a 2-bedroom. It goes to the same average, $45,000 or so, $44,000 on average, with a range of about 30 to 90 grand, which tells me that second bedroom doesn't move the needle. It does cost you a little bit more, but it doesn't move the needle at all. And so if you can just get a 1-bedroom, get a 1-bedroom. 3-bedroom houses. Once again, a very small bump. We only see about a $5,000 bump, taking the average from $44,000 to $49,000 a year. So 3 bedrooms really don't make a whole heck of a lot more than 1s and 2s. And their range of great versus bad is pretty much the same. 30 to 95,000 is that range. So 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms almost perform identically with a small variance, give you a little bit more for a 2 and a 3, but very marginal. And so that's the first time I've ever seen that in analyzing a few dozen markets here on this podcast. Normally you see a pretty decent bump on 2 and then a better bump on 3, but it's pretty marginal here. What's also interesting is when we go to 4-bedroom, the jump is not massive either. I mean, it's big compared to the jump from 2 to 3, but it's not huge. We see a median revenue of about $67,000 for 4 bedrooms in this market, up from about $49,000. So it's a $18,000 bump. It's decent. It's not huge, but it's definitely a lot better than a 3-bedroom because that performs basically like a 2. 5 bedrooms is where we really start to see a big bump. When we go from a 4 to a 5, we go from a $67,000 average per year all the way up to a $94,000 average per year. So that's a huge jump. That 5-bedroom gets a huge lift, with the averages being somewhere between $75,000 and $140,000. So that gives you a lot better opportunity to earn a pretty respectable amount of revenue every year if you go to a 5, which we always talk about, especially in these markets. The bigger the bedrooms, the better. When we jump to a 6, that's the hugest lift. The 5 to a 6 is the hugest lift across this stack. You go to a median average of $180,000 per year. So we basically double the revenue potential by going from a 5 to a 6. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that play into that. Like, I'm sure the 6 bedrooms are heavily amenitized. They have great locations. They have pools, all that stuff. But it's definitely a huge jump going from 5 to 6 on the average, with the range being about $115,000 to $280,000. So the range is massive. The earning potential on a 6-bedroom is massive. But now we get into what you have to do in order to accomplish that and in order to hit that kind of revenue. And so what does your competition have in Asheville? We know there's a lot of designers that work in that market, that they claim that that's their backyard. It seems like all their houses start to look the same after they've done so many in the same market. I don't know why people keep hiring them to do the same house over and over again. Remember, you want your house to be different and unique, but that's another point for another day. Guys, let's talk about penetration by amenity. And let's start off with the first and the most widely used amenity in this market, which is a fire pit. 71% of short-term rentals in Asheville have fire pits. If you're gonna get a short-term rental, a fire pit's probably a must. Number 2, hot tubs. Hot tubs are at 53%. So between hot tubs and fire pits, a vast majority of properties in this market have those. It just makes sense, guys. That's really the 2 hot amenities in most mountain markets, and Asheville is no different. We then take a huge dip. We go to game rooms. Only 24% of properties have game rooms. Pool tables, only 12% of properties have pool tables. And then one of my favorites, the sauna, only 11% of properties have sauna. If you do that sauna, barrel sauna, hot tub combination, you're really going to stand out. You're going to have an amenity that everyone else has and you need to compete. And then you're going to have a really nice to have amenity that only 11% of people have in a sauna. So that combination of those two, I think, is a winning recipe in Asheville as well. Gyms, home gyms, 10% of folks have home gyms. Only 5.5% of short-term rentals have swimming pools. This can be a great unlock if you can find a property with a pool, or if you're willing to go through the time and energy to install a pool. It can be a great way to stand out. You're obviously then going to differentiate yourself from 95% of the other properties. Playgrounds, very small percentage. Only 3.5% have playgrounds. Only 3% have movie theaters. Only 2.5% are waterfront. And then here's my favorite part: pickleball and mini golf. Less than 2% of properties in these markets have pickleball and mini golf. That can be a great way to stand out in Asheville. So guys, there you go. The revenue potentials get bigger based upon the bedroom count, and they kind of max out at the 6-bedroom count with a huge bump up from 5. The amenities are pretty straightforward. Hot tub and fire pit are must-haves. A lot of the properties have them. But then the rest of the list, if you're going to heavily amenitize something, really puts you in a small category of houses. Definitely helps you stand out. And so if you guys need any help designing, setting up, doing acquisitions, reach out to me. Our partners over at STR Search are the ones who provided the data to us. We appreciate them for that. And if you guys need anything, like always, hit me up. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. If you guys want to see a different market next week or have any requests, drop it in the comment, shoot us an email. Make sure to reach out to us, and we will get those markets in front of you with all the data and the information that you need to make a smart short-term rental investment. See you guys.